Hi, this is your host, Daniel Gutierrez, with Awakening to Abundance, effortless abundance in all areas of life. I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Morry Zelcovitch. Morry has been researching the effects of sounds and tones on mental state for well over 20 years, and after undergoing extensive training, he became one of the few certified Brainwave entrainment. Folks, that's not entertainment, that's entrainment engineers in the world. Morry is the creator of a new proprietary technology which uses sound to evoke certain brainwave states that help the listener experience truly beneficial results. In fact, the Morry method was recognized by the Brazilian government and a Brazilian university in a major independent study which has resulted in further recognition of this proven method. Morry helps people to increase their brain power, enhance concentration and enthusiasm while reducing stress and anxiety. His clients across the world have learned how to easily master their mind power and completely transform their lives, simply, automatically, and effortlessly. So today, you will discover insights on how to use your mind to get anything you want, exercises that can change your mood and disposition in any situation, a new understanding into what reality really is, and a practical information and methods to change your perception, experience, and results. Morry, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the call.
It's a pleasure to be here, Daniel. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is definitely one of the cutting-edge type technologies out there, and I'm really excited about talking to an engineer who actually does the work. So before we actually dive into this, Morry, could you take, some time and share what you believe have been the major turning points in your life that allowed you to get to the level of success you're seeing today?
Sure. Actually, I have great parents. My family wasn't rich, but we had enough of everything. And yet, for most of my life, I lived with the philosophy, actually I call it my Reader's Digest or Hallmark greeting card. Life is a disease for which there is no cure but death. That's pretty much how I felt about life from the very beginning till about, for about 35 years. And very dark, very dark. I would constantly do things to, sabotage my own happiness and blame it on other people. That totally disempowers you, by the way. Best thing you can do is admit that, you have control and you did this to yourself. It's the most empowering thing in the world. It's not depressing. Most people try to blame others because they feel it's going to depress themselves further by admitting that it's really them. The old adage, it takes two to tango, really applies here. It really depends on how you take things and adjust to them and adapt to them. Bad things happen to everybody. Good things happen to everybody. It really depends on your attitude as to how you act, react, and recover from them. So someone you see who apparently looks really, really happy isn't someone who bad things don't happen to. They're just people who recover faster.
Right.
And there's a lot of very easy ways, actually, to do it. I'm in the relationship of my dreams right now because I decided one day that happiness is a choice. And the day I decided to be happy, I was happy. I heard, for most of my life, thousands of voices in my head. Imagine, if you can, standing in a crowd of thousands of people and they're all talking. So you don't hear what they're saying, but you hear that din of conversation. Now imagine you're hearing it at about the same level that I'm talking at now. So obviously school was very difficult for me because I couldn't hear much of what was being said because I had this giant conversation going on in my head from up till the moment I go to sleep at night. Bad relationships, bad everything, major physical issues, tons and tons of broken bones and dislocations and concussions and broken ribs, and I broke my kneecap once or twice.
Oh my
24
gosh.
fractures ankle, and that was just one time. Non-stop torturing myself. I realized at one point later on, actually just a few years ago really, that this was my attempt to either punish myself or even a very bad attempt to continually try to kill myself. And one day I kind of woke up through all of this fog and all of this pain and all of this agony to realize that obviously I'm not very good at killing myself because I'm still around. So if I can't find a way to die, I have to find a way to live. And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this call can relate to that there's something that keeps them fighting and pushing forward, even though they feel depressed and down and just beaten up by the world around them. And that basically launched me on a self-improvement kick where I was searching and searching and searching for answers everywhere I possibly could. I tried things like standard and traditional meditation and hypnosis and even entrainment that existed previous to my own methods. And the funny thing was, I don't just accept what people write in their sales letters. I'm sure, you've seen lots of beautiful sales letters.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them, myself, I get beautiful sales letters every day of the week telling me about the next best thing. And my first little hint to people is, if you feel you resonate with something that comes to your email box, create a folder, drop it in there. Don't worry about their saying this is a 24-hour offer.
Yeah, right.
No one's going to say no to you if you want to spend money on their product, okay? But don't fall into the trap of buying, say, my product, using it for 3 days, getting another email that's maybe differently written that tells you you're going to get results really fast, then dumping what I have, picking up the next thing, 3 days later getting something. This is an endless loop of marketing, but it doesn't help you to improve yourself. There's lots of good quality people and good quality products out there, but you have to give them a fair chance to work. Focus is really important. So stop bouncing onto everything that looks good right away. If something resonates with you, put it aside until you've finished what you're working with now and given it a fair assessment as to whether it can help you to help yourself, and then move forward slowly. So this is what I did. I researched everything that resonated with me, and much of what I found was just a load of talk. There was no actual evidence. There was no scientific evidence to back it up. There was very little experiential evidence either. People who wrote testimonials on their website, they were very kind of murky, nothing too impressive. So, I made sure that there were refunds available, and I would try one thing at a time, and if it didn't help me, I'd ask for a refund. If it did, I kept it. Eventually, I came across this brainwave entrainment stuff, which has been around a lot longer than I have. I believe there's a company out there that's been actually selling products for going on 30 years now. So it's not like it's a new product or a new type of technology. But when I did the research, I checked on Google Scholar, I downloaded, research reports and white papers and all the other stuff. Entrainment, to me, really resonated as the key. It's kind of like the fix-all for you, because what it does is it takes advantage of physiological and psychological affects that everybody is affected by and everybody reacts to. So it's the one universal trait or system that can affect your traits and help you to develop and grow. The problem was I tried these things and they didn't help me. They were really relaxing, but that was it. It didn't actually give me any long-term benefits. So instead of getting more dispassionate and more upset that, why is nothing helping me, I realized that maybe they just weren't doing it the right way. And I dug deeper, and I found that a lot of the people out there were simply just using software that was created by other people. And this software, although good, wasn't, it wasn't medical grade, quote unquote. It wasn't that really high quality stuff that really pays attention to all the physiological, psychological, and psychosocial affects and events that truly influence how you are. I find that the more you understand something, the better you're able to produce something that might be effective using that knowledge. So I took it upon myself to say, look, I really have this instinct that brainwave entrainment can help me. But the stuff that's out there now doesn't help me. To me, instead of getting depressed, it became an opportunity. It was an inspiration to develop something that does work on a more universal, on more universal terms. And that's what I did. I found the top legitimate researcher in the field. His name is David Siever, and he's been the top researcher in this field for at least 30 years now. I met him personally. I asked him to teach me, which he did. And then he's been supportive ever since in my own research and development of products. And because I have this background and because I have this knowledge and because I have this passion, I was able to create a series of recordings that when I used them in a specific way, it shut all the voices up in my head almost immediately.
Wow.
And I went from having massive debt, and when I say massive debt, you're talking to a guy who up until he was 44 years old never made more than $30,000. And for those of you that, aren't Canadian, that was 30,000 Canadian dollars back when the US dollar was like 30, 40 cents more than the Canadian dollar value. So, I was basically living on, and cell phone bills were like $700 a month if you were trying to use them for business. I was relying on the kindness of others and my parents to help me out and support me and let me live with them and not annoy me while I did my research to try to find what could help. Because of their support, I wasn't pressured to get a menial job, a job that I wasn't interested in doing. Keep in mind, there are no menial jobs by definition. The only menial job is one that you don't want to do. You need to do what you're passionate about, and then you'll be happy. And when you're happy, whatever success you need, whether that's $1 million, $100, whatever that is for you, you'll get. It'll be provided to you automatically. You just have to do something that you're passionate about. Well, I grew up, reading a lot of comics, wanting to be a superhero. I started my life with this, what I call super technology. I told a few people about it. They asked me to try it. They tried it. Their lives turned around. Then, as a thank you, I sent one of my recordings to my online friend, Song Cheng Zhang, and he absolutely freaked out over how effective it was for him. He told me after 3 days of using just one of my recordings, not even the system, just one of them, that English is his fourth or fifth language. He was able to read it faster, retain more, and understand it better. At the point, it became evident that I needed to get this out to more and more people. And that, in a rather large nutshell, is how it came to be.
Wow. So let's define a couple things.
Sure.
One, I purposely, when I said certified brainwave entrainment, I did that because there's a difference between entertainment and entrainment. Could you kind of discuss that a little bit? Because I think people get confused.
Sure.
Of what you actually do.
Well, entertainment, as everybody knows, is to be entertained. It's a time waster. It's something that helps distract you from reality. Entrainment is an actual biological and physiological event. It occurs when you're exposed to a regular and steady stimulus. In English, that means something like ba, 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 ba. If you hear that pattern and it's regular and it's pure, meaning it's exactly the same sound with exactly the same spacing, and you hear it for a long enough period of time, the neurons, which are the brain cells, will fire minute electric impulses that will match the frequency of the tone. So if you're hearing a tone that's going ba, 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 every time you hear a ba, your neurons firing off a minute electrical impulse. The idea behind entrainment is that we get enough of your cells firing at the same sequence, you end up releasing natural neurochemicals, endorphins, hormones, neurotransmitters. All of these things are what's actually responsible for how you feel, how you think. If your brain is clear or foggy, you have a different brain chemistry associated with those. If you're happy, if you're angry, different brain chemistry. If you're in love or feeling hate, different brain chemistry. So what we can do is we can train your brain by exposing it to regular tones to actually go back to a normal state of being. This isn't about becoming supernatural or superhuman. This is about becoming human again. Our society has been so stressed for so long. We worry about money. We worry about relationships. We worry about disease. We worry about death. We worry. television and movies are all about blowing people up, killing people, and they even make it like it's cool. You know, it's all the wrong programming. It doesn't even, you know, they used to say that if you watch enough of this stuff, you get desensitized to it. That's not true. You actually don't get desensitized. What happens is on the outside, you appear desensitized. On the inside, you're being shredded. You know, when there's nothing there anymore, you don't look like you're being affected. And that's what happens when you watch this kind of stuff. And it's funny that the most popular shows in North America are all these like CSI type shows.
Right.
And all the violence shows. And the movies, you know, are all the big rah-rah war, kill the enemy because we're wonderful and the rest of the world sucks. You know, these are all the wrong messages because even though they give you this false sense of security, like we're superior, we're this, we're that, the truth is it tears down your humanity. And the more you tear down your humanity, the harder it is to live as a human. And many people go through their lives wondering, everything I try, it doesn't matter. I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied. Because they don't understand that every single day they're programming themselves to be unhappy. They're programming themselves with their entertainment to be miserable.
Is this why so many people are frustrated with their work or even fulfilling their dreams?
Of course. It's a major reason. I don't think it's the only reason, but it's a major reason. You know, we assume that for something to occur, we need to identify an issue or a problem or an event. The problem is that when things are commonplace, we cease to consider them as possibilities. You know, we're inundated with violence all the time. Newspapers don't talk about beautiful things that happen, or if they do, they're pushed back on the back pages. You know, television news talks about violence and fires and death and destruction. You know, movies deal with all of this too. We're programming ourselves to be miserable, and we're doing such a good job of it, we don't even realize we're doing it anymore. It's all about awareness. One of the beautiful things about entrainment is it brings you back to the present moment, and it makes you aware because it sharpens all of your senses. It makes you more aware of everything you're doing. You know, none of these insights that I can guarantee you apply to most of us, because I've seen it in so many customers and clients and myself over all these years. We just don't realize what we're doing wrong. So many people are told, well, you know what, you're failing because you're not trying hard enough, or you're failing because you don't believe what I believe, or you're failing because of this, or you're failing because of that. People need to start listening to themselves and stop listening to other people. I have a catchphrase that I developed a little while ago. You are your own guru.
I love it.
Okay? Stop looking for answers everywhere else. You know, you and I, Daniel, might care about people and we may want to help people. So what we do is we open our mouths and stuff spews forth up to the people to see what resonates with them.
Mm-hmm.
If it resonates, they shouldn't take us word for word. They should take it inside, interpret it within their own experience, and then, and this is the most important part, follow through with action. Because ultimately, nature works in a state of homeostasis. Everything is always working to level itself out. Everything. That means if you have an issue or a problem, you also, by the law of nature and the universe, have the answer. Have you ever looked for your car keys and they've been in your hands the whole time?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Or looking for
really
your glasses or your sunglasses or something, and they're on your head?
Yep.
You know, this is an example of the universe telling you you're looking in the wrong place for answers. Don't look to, you know, so-called gurus, you know, or so-called experts, myself included, by the way, for answers. Look within yourself. That's what my systems are predicated on. They're predicated on the fact that I don't know you. I love you as a person because I consider you to be part of me. But beyond that, I don't know you. How can I know your history and what influences from this history have helped mold you both positively and negatively? It's impossible. No matter what good intentions I have, I cannot, psychically perceive what your issue is, and I certainly can't psychically perceive what you need to do to change it. So what I do instead, because I have this incredibly strong desire for, to help people to help themselves, is to create a technology that allows you to help yourself.
Before we get into what exactly your method is, I want to kind of paint the picture a little bit about who you are as opposed to the others in your field that are doing similar work, because there are other similar types of entrainment that are out there, and you and I had this discussion before we got on the call. What is it that makes you different from those out there that may be saying they're doing the same thing?
Well, I don't like, my mother and father always taught me, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it.
Don't say it.
At the same time, I can answer the question, I believe, without insulting anybody.
Good.
I think there's lots of people out there who have an authentic desire to help other people. Okay? And I think if you have the intention to help, it doesn't matter what you shoot out there. I believe that it can help someone. The problem with entrainment is that it's an actual scientific process that can be measured. You can put on sensors and measure your brainwave activity. You can take blood samples and measure neurotransmitter, endorphin, and hormone levels. These are all things that are provable and substantiable. You can actually do something with them, unlike, let's say, chakras, which as a scientist, I can go either way. My spiritual self says, yeah, there's something to this. But my scientific self says, we don't currently have anything that can measure the energy of a chakra. I mean, there's some people that say you can take pictures, oral photography or whatever, and that shows you a chakra. But that's not really a scientific, test. That doesn't actually prove anything, really. It just proves that there's a film or a camera that's designed to, say, react to heat or radioactivity or electromagnetism or something. There's no evidence that it's actually some kind of spiritual energy. So, I don't poo-poo that kind of thing, but when it comes to actual entrainment, there are certain rules, if you will, that have to be followed in order for it to be effective. And this was my problem with trying all these other systems that were out there previous, and even analyzing the newer ones that have come out since. They don't seem to care about the rules. An example would be people who hear my product. I even just got an email from a young lady today, and she said, I heard you talk, and I was really impressed, so I bought your product, and then I wanted to give it back 5 minutes after I started listening, because what happened was I expected to hear a nice dulcet voice guiding me through.
Right.
With pretty sounds and maybe, like a harp playing in the background and all this beautiful, nice stuff. And instead, they heard shh, and overlaid over that, they heard bop, 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 bop. And it angered her, and it made her upset to hear this because she didn't expect to hear that. Well, a lot of my contemporaries in this field love adding things like Tibetan bells, wafting ocean waves, birds chirping, various insects buzzing and clicking away, squirrels and beavers and, I don't know, chanting, all these other things. The fact is that to entrain your brain, you need to be exposed to steady, accurate pulses, if you will, or beats, over a period of time. So your ear reacts. There's something called the frequency following response. So you hear ba, 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 ba. And as you're hearing this, and it's becoming more and more regular for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, your brain starts reacting and pulsing in kind. So now your neurons are going ba, 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 ba. That's releasing minute electrical impulses. As your neurons are not isolated and they're next to each other, the neuron next to the one that's firing picks up with the same frequency, and then so on and so forth. That's entrainment. Things following in synchronicity. Okay? Now, add birds chirping. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Blah, blah, blah. All the different noises. these are all interfering with the signals going to your brain that are trying to entrain you. Now, these guys put it in because they know people might be annoyed just hearing bump, 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 but it goes against the rules of entrainment. If you're sitting up at your computer doing email while you're listening to my recordings, the effects will not be as strong because you're distracting yourself. You're taking the attention, you're adding stimulus that is contraindicated to what you're trying to do. So the most obvious mistake that these other people make, even though I believe they have excellent intentions and they truly want to help, is that they make it sound pretty. You know, they make it sound new agey. And maybe that, you know, they think that that helps, but there's two things that that does wrong. And the first thing I've already explained to you, it ruins the entrainment. But the second thing it does wrong is you get used to it. You get used to music. I'm sure all of us have had the experience of loving a song we heard, and we play it to death.
Right.
And then we want to go near it again. You know, I can't tell you how many songs I love that I haven't listened to in 25 years because I'm sick of it already. I've heard it like 3,000 times the first time, and it's enough already. I can't deal with it anymore. Believe it or not, listening to my interwoven background sound, the shh sound, and the tones, you don't get bored of those because it's not a matter of listening to music for entertainment purposes. It's a matter of entrainment. And much like breathing doesn't lose its effectiveness just because, you know, I'm 50 years old, I've been breathing every day of my life for 50 years. You know what? I'm not bored of it, and it still serves me very well. Eating is the same, right? I eat, I drink. These are things I've been doing my whole life, and I'm not bored of them, and they still serve me very well. Well, your brain is the same way, and properly engineered entrainment you do not get bored of, and the effects don't dwindle with time.
So what exactly is the Maury method? I want to get into now for the listener. I'm really glad you explained the difference. I do understand the whole idea that I think that some of the other products on the market, they do try to make it nice and they try to make it palatable, I guess. I'm also a believer that, you know, sometimes things aren't pretty if you want to get the dose. So I'm really excited about your method and what it can do for us. So tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. When I mentioned earlier that I was looking for answers, I thought brainwave entrainment would be the answer, but it turned out it wasn't, and I was inspired to create my own. That's where my method comes in. First of all, I use specially designed tones. Okay? I don't use software to create my tones. Like, I don't use prefab software. I didn't buy a brainwave entrainment program. I use professional audio editing software that I have had specially adjusted for me to create specially shaped tones. So when you look at a sound on an oscilloscope, you'll see like waves or squares or different shapes. My tones are perfectly sized, perfectly shaped, which means that the space between my tones is exactly the same every single beat. The shape of the tone is exactly the same. Now understand that to your ear, hearing ba or ba will sound exactly the same. To your brain, though, it doesn't. And for proper entrainment to work, you need to have these exacting standards. So that's one of the things that I'm very cautious about. The second thing is what I mentioned earlier about how other sounds actually get in the way of entraining your brain. But the problem is people have lives, and rarely can you go into a soundproof room to listen to these recordings. So I had to come up a way to kind of help you get deeper into the entrainment, but at the same time to kind of mask out extraneous noise. So what I did was I created what I call a relative of pink noise. I overlaid individual frequencies, over 600 of them, over each other. And what the effect of this is that it acts to filter out external noises. So if you hear creaking, let's say you have a partner lying next to you in bed and they move around and the springs are creaking or the bed's moving a little bit, it helps to keep that at a minimum so it doesn't disturb the entrainment process. But more so, it actually works to amplify the results of the tones. So ordinarily you would think hearing a clean tone, ba, 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 without anything else would be the best way to listen. actually, with my background noise, it amplifies the effects. A lot of people say it makes it sound kind of like a helicopter. You know, because there's a delay in your hearing. So when you hear a pulse, your ear actually has to recover, and then it comes back, and it recovers, and it comes back, and it recovers. And that's why it sounds like the shh is doing shh, 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 which is where people get the helicopter sound from.
How do the sounds, for example, if I'm listening to another product and it's saying within the entrainment music or whatever it is that they're doing, they say it's underneath the music, so I don't know what's there. But
I see. You don't really hear the sound.
Yeah, I don't hear the sound. I just hear the music, and then I hear a voice saying, hey. So I understand if someone's saying I am successful, that's one way to motivate me. With your process, it sounds like it's just, how does the brain know that you're programming success? What part of that is it? Where's that at in your product?
Good question. What is first happening is we're first promoting the proper states of brain so that you're in the right state to be able to
makes sense.
Okay? So we put you into these stable states, training your brain to become more efficient. So what we're doing is it's kind of like a farmer tilling the soil, fertilizing, watering. Well, if you fertilize and water and aerate the soil, that's wonderful, but unless you plant very high-quality seeds, not much is going to grow there anyway. So the entrainment alone takes care of preparing you. Then what we do, and this is where the Maury method comes into its own really, is we embed better ways to think. And I use the exact same philosophy that you use and everybody used to program themselves negatively in the first place, except all I do is change the content. Why change the method if it works so well? And my life was so screwed up. Boy, was I programming myself really well.
But it was working.
Yeah, it was working beautifully, but I just didn't like the results.
Right.
So I decided just keep the method, change the content. So that's where things like, brainwave hypnosis comes in, where you actually have brainwave tones that don't act to entrain you, but they act like deepeners and inductions would in a hypnosis session to put your brain further into the right state. And then there's messages that come to you that through repetition end up changing how you think and how you talk. So what you need to understand is that the reason why you think the way you do and you react the way you do, they're all learned responses. Okay? Nobody is born into this world thinking they're ugly. No one is born into this world thinking they're failures. No one is born into this world thinking that there's a lack of anything, okay? Wealth, health, anything. These are all learned responses because people are telling you. And you see, this is where affirmations kind of fall down too. If you hear an affirmation, let's say I give you an affirmation tape, Daniel, and I tell you, you are rich, you are happy, you are handsome, you are fit. Well, you're hearing my voice tell you, you are. That's exactly how it should be because that's where all of the I am came from. Most affirmations are all about I am, I am, I am. Now that, first of all, doesn't help you if you're hearing my voice because no offense to me, but what do you care if I'm wealthy and I'm handsome and I'm fit?
Right.
Conscious mind, your subconscious mind, they both are fully aware of the fact that it's my voice, not yours. So in a subliminal recording, you can use I am because the conscious mind doesn't hear that it's not me talking, right? But when it comes down to an affirmation process, if you're using somebody else's recordings, they need to tell you, you are, okay? Because that's where the change starts. That's where the negative programming came from. You heard enough times, Maury, you're stupid, Maury, you're stupid, Maury, you're stupid. Eventually, I turned that into, I am stupid, I am stupid, I am stupid.
So
this
true.
is why most techniques don't work. And this is another big hint. If you use somebody else's stuff, make sure it's you are. And it's a good idea to get some friends, if you want something, specialized to your own needs, to actually record for you. You are happy, you have enough, you are satisfied, you are in a great relationship, because that's the beginning of I am. And when you hear you are enough, it becomes I am. And when it becomes I am, the change is pretty much complete. So that's why most affirmations don't work. You need to start with you are, because that's how it programmed you badly in the first place. You didn't make yourself feel that you weren't attractive. You didn't make yourself poor. You didn't make yourself a failure. You were made this by other people, and then you accepted it as your own. And this is where a lot of the affirmations, well, pretty much every affirmation I've ever seen, theory, technology, whatever, has failed. And that's why most people hear how wonderful affirmations are, and yet when they try them, they never work.
Amazing. I never looked at it that way, but it seems so fitting. So once you've got someone, and it totally makes sense, like conditioning and working out, that if I get myself ready for that, then I can run the race. If I don't, then I'm not going to run the race very well. So what happens once you've gotten somebody into some sort of a state?
Okay, good. So now they're in the state, and they're listening to supplemental recordings that are helping them to change the way they think. And again, this is through repetition. So the more they listen, the more times they get the message that you are, the more they start taking it into themselves, becoming I am. And this inspires action. You know, I'm not sure that I so much believe in the law of attraction anymore. I think the law of attraction is a little bit disempowering. It's more the law of awareness. Because I said before, I think good things and bad things are all around us all the time. You see what you think about, basically. So you can call it attraction, but I think if you drill down, it's really more awareness. What you are aware of is what you see. So if we get you repeating and getting exposed to messages that are more positive all the time, then you naturally will start looking for good instead of looking for bad. I live in Toronto. Now, most people here, all I ever hear from them is how unfriendly Torontonians are. All I ever hear, okay? In my experience, in the last, say, 7 years since I've turned my life around, I only meet the nicest, sweetest people you'd ever want to meet. They're friendly. They laugh, they smile, they share, even if you just meet them in the elevator for 20 seconds. It's because I'm looking for that. I'm aware. I am looking for happy people that are friendly and smiling. So what that does is that makes my disposition happy and smiling right away, which can then influence other people around me to be the same. I think Torontonians are the friendliest people I've ever met.
I agree.
That's just my impression. I think everybody is the friendliest people I've ever met. It's just a matter of your attitude on how you look at things. If you're grateful for every little thing around you, then what you're really doing is you're spending most of your time being grateful for things. If you do that, then eventually you end up naturally, automatically looking for things to be grateful for. That makes you even more grateful. Then you get opportunities. Then you get advantages. Then you move forward in life and you're happy and you're successful. And you look back on your previous life like I can, and honestly, it's getting to the point now where it feels so far away, this dark, depressed soul that I was for most of my life, that it almost feels like I'm making it up now. Oh, it's true, or was true, more accurately. But honestly, I am so different. I can't even remember the last time I had a negative thought. And I can tell you that this year I personally have had 2 serious cancer scares, which fortunately were only scares. But on top of that, I've also been dealing with, I got married in January for the first time.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, and we're very happy, thank you. But you know what? My wife has been dealing with a very, very rare and serious blood disease since November of last year. And we still haven't had a negative thought. Doesn't mean we don't get sad sometimes.
But we're going to be running out of time here soon, and there's a couple things I really want to ask you about, and this is something that you teach. There's a lot of resistance in the world. There's a lot of resistance to everything. How can we use that to be a force for good?
It's simply a matter of understanding the dynamic behind resistance. Resistance tends to bring up a lot of shields and a lot of negative connotations.
Automatically, yeah.
Exactly. What you need to understand is that what you've been taught about resistance is completely wrong. All resistance is it's a sign you're moving in the right direction. Don't interpret it as a negative. From now on, when you feel resistance, resistance is simply a sign that an old part of you that doesn't want to change perceives that if you keep on this track, change will happen, and it doesn't want you to change. You're on this call, though. You're doing these things because you want to change. So from now on, when you feel resistance, instead of getting upset and nervous, smile and get excited, because that's what resistance is. Resistance is evidence that you're moving forward and actually nearing a breakthrough.
Nice.
When you put that energy around, resistance is suddenly a force for good. And it's true. I'm not just saying this to try to con people into believing some weird theory. I can tell you that since I realized this in my own life and sharing it with many of my clients, everything changes when your perception changes. And just because we think we know what's real, if it doesn't serve us, that's a really good hint that it isn't real or true.
I love the way you just turn that around, and I think that, wow, that's pretty exciting. So, the whole topic of our conversation today, Maury, is achieving anything we want with the most powerful device ever conceived, which is our mind. So how do we do that? You know, I know we're going to go into a little bit of a abundance meditation here in just a few minutes, but, you know, before we go there, how do we begin to use this powerful device? How do we get this incredible computer we have called the brain to work for us instead of against us?
Honestly, it's the simplest thing in the world. I don't need 15 movies and 6 books. It's called listen and then act on what you hear. You know, you have all of your answers. You already know all the answers to all the questions. It's simply a matter of being in the now, being aware, and listening. You know, if you look back in your life, anybody looks back in their life, and they remember the times when they acted on pure instinct, okay? They didn't think about a thought that entered their head. The thought to make a decision entered their head, and then they acted on it. I defy anybody to tell me that they ever got a bad result from doing that, ever, okay? When you start emoting, putting your emotions onto something that pops into your head, or intellectualizing it, that's when you destroy it and distort it, okay? You need to learn how to sit back, and that's one of the things that entrainment allows you to do. It allows you to detach that emotional and intellectualization process that we're all trained to do from birth. It allows you to detach from that and just to accept what happens. As I have been growing older and wiser, I hope, I have been noticing that as I pay attention to the thoughts that come into my mind, I am now able to totally detach from emoting or intellectualizing any of them and simply act on them. And that's because I've been doing this technology for so long that it's allowed me, with my intention, of course, and hopefully those of you out there now have a new understanding and can use the same intention to give themselves that kind of insight too. My life has changed like crazy because I have decided, I want to be happy. So I've just made the decision, I'm going to be happy, period, at all costs. Then thoughts come to my mind. I trust that my instincts know better than I do, because the times I've emoted and then acted, or made an intellectualization and acted, I've been sorely disappointed in the results.
What's emoting? Define that for the audience.
Sure. Emoting is when you attach an emotion to something and then think of it in terms of an emotional response. So let's say I get a feeling, I'm driving in my car, and I get a feeling that I need to slow down. I don't know why, it's just a thought. It pops into my head, okay? So I slow down, and the guy in front of me doesn't look, and he swings in front, and I go, I'm glad I listened to myself. Well, emoting takes the same situation. Boy, I think I should slow down. Now, why should I slow down? I'm not sure. You know, this is kind of making me nervous that, something inside is telling me to do something I don't want to do. You know, it wastes time. It loses the meaning behind the event. And it blurs the purpose. People need to understand that when they learn to trust themselves, that's really the first major step to anything they want other than that in life. Because chances are you already know exactly what you need to do to be abundant. in any respect, whether that's an abundance of emotional wealth or physical wealth or monetary wealth, it doesn't matter. You already have all of that information. But because you think you don't see it. It's like the car keys. I don't think I have them on me, so I'm looking everywhere else. Then suddenly I realized they were on me the whole time. It's exactly the same thing. You all already have all the knowledge, all the ability that you need. You need to become aware of the fact that you have all of this. When you do, the accessing part is relatively easy.
I love it. So let's Maury, would you walk us through this abundance meditation so
Sure.
we can get an idea of the tricks and what it takes to really understand how to use our mind?
Sure. This is a meditation that I wrote last night, actually.
I love it.
Paul, I like to be inspired and to trust my instincts. And my instinct said, throw out what you have and write something new. So I did. I listened to it. I would like you all to listen with an open mind and don't force yourself to accept anything. I believe that there is a message in here for every single person who will hear this. Allow whatever is to come to you, and trust that something will be in this specifically for you. And you will find something specifically that will help you to help yourself. So I'd like those of you who aren't driving, obviously, to take a deep breath in through your nose. I'd like you to inhale very slowly. Fill your lungs and feel them stretching out. Hold it for a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Open your mouth slightly and exhale gently. And as you do, become aware of your body, mind, and soul. Relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. You are relaxed and safe. Focus now on relaxing your entire body. Start with your head. Pay attention and notice how the muscles in your skull, face, and jaw seem to be melting, calming. Move your attention to your neck and shoulders. Feel as every muscle unwinds, relaxes. Your hands, arms, fingers, all now feel loose. This feeling, notice as it progresses to your torso and hips. Notice as this wonderful feeling progresses to your thighs, knees, calves. Your legs are now, like the rest of your body, completely relaxed. Move down now to your ankles, feet, and toes, and realize the wonderful feeling as all tension is now released. Your entire body is now very, very relaxed. Take a second and enjoy this feeling, and notice now that without your trying, your mind has also relaxed. And your brain is now free from random thoughts, as you are now totally focused on your mind, your body, and my voice. You are now very, very relaxed, very comfortable. As you continue relaxing even more, I want you to now think about the goals you have set for yourself. They can be anything. Imagine a perfect place, a perfect scenario for you accomplishing your goal. You notice that as you awake every day, you find energy driving you to work and move forward towards whatever it is you desire. You find it easy to get out of bed and start your day because you know how great it feels to take action. You feel great all day long, knowing that at the end of every day, you are another step closer to achieving your goal. As you work, you notice everything just falls into place. Everything's working out perfectly. You consistently move forward and you overcome all challenges with ease. You now lead a more fulfilling and more abundant life. You find that you have replaced old habits with new ones, positive ones, and you achieve your goals. You are successful and proud. Family, friends, and coworkers see your success and have great respect for you. Notice how happy you are and see yourself for who you really are. Intelligent, caring, strong, and successful. You deserve to feel confident and respected, and you are. Now, I want you to bring the success into the present moment. Allow yourself to feel it. Get excited by it. And finally realize that you can and will accomplish anything. You are now confident. You are now strong. You now fill your life with positive choices that bring abundance. Because you know that just like happiness, abundance is a choice. Positive people and positive thoughts are all around you. You see the truth now, and perhaps for the first time, you are more fulfilled than you have ever been before. It's easy to accomplish anything you set your mind to, as long as you take action. And you action every day. You are fulfilled and satisfied by your successes, and you use them to help those around you. From this point on, look forward to all the challenges that come your way, because you know you will face them. Learn from them and be grateful for them, as you now understand that they are steps that lead to your happiness and abundance. Life promises you the best, and you accept the best from this point on as your birthright. You are now excited by the prospects of every day. The unknown brings only opportunity and abundance into your life. You are abundance. You have always been abundance. And now you know it. Understand it and move forward through every moment with renewed joy and purpose. When you're ready, feel free to open your eyes, move around, and allow what has been said to absorb, and allow whatever messages were for you specifically to come to light.
That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you for that. And your voice is very hypnotizing.
Thank you very much.
So it was beautiful. Wow. Thank you for that. Like I said, I know for me, I definitely feel more relaxed than I guess when we first started on this call, and I really appreciate that. Maury, could you take just a couple of minutes and spend some time sharing maybe some of the amazing turnarounds that people have gotten from applying what you teach?
Well, it's funny. I'm not sure it's reasonable to say that I teach anything. Really, all I do is I share, thoughts and the technology, and I really think that people are their own teachers. But I can tell you some of the experiences. I have quite a few seniors who tell me that they don't search for words anymore. Their memories are better. They have more energy. I have kids who tell their parents, and their teachers are telling their parents, that their attention is better at school and their grades are getting better as a result of this. There's people, the thing is that the benefits people get or can get are so varied and different because the product's designed to help people get whatever they need. So if you have a need, you don't, but if you had a need, say, to be better at public speaking, then that would be one of the things you would get out of this. If I have a need for, confidence or self-esteem, that might be something that would come to me. If someone else had the need to, say, relax and not be so stressed out, then that would be something that they would tend to get. You tend to get what you need because, again, the systems and technology are designed to get you to help yourself. And you really know more of what you need than I do.
So it's a real personal experience in when people work with you.
Well, on a more personal experience, people get, I think what the system does and what I help with is to help get clarity. I think people get very cloudy and disenchanted because they just don't understand how something is happening, why it's happening. And often a different perspective is all that's required to get people going again. So I guess what I personally give, because I make myself available to my customers personally, I do my own customer service and things like that, I try to give people insights that help them to understand themselves better. So I obviously don't know enough about them to give them specifics,
right?
But I can certainly listen and hear what they're saying. I mean, I've had people tell me that in 10 years they haven't noticed any improvements in their life, but in the same conversation they've mentioned 3 or 4 things that have gotten better.
Sometimes
just Getting that out to them is enough to show them that much of what we go through is in our head. Yeah, we're having a hard time maybe making, paying bills or feeding the family or getting a good job, or all these things do happen, and people deal with these realities every day. But the truth of the matter is, you don't have to suffer like you are, and sometimes this self-brought-on suffering perpetuates the situation as opposed to allowing you to alleviate it and make it better. That's what was happening with me. I mean, every time I'd start a job, people would tell me at the office or wherever, oh, I'm sure you're going to be so successful at this. And you know what? I failed every single time.
Well, Maury, I know that there is tons more that we could learn from you. I really appreciate everything you do and who you are, and I know that you've created a special offer for all of us to be able to learn to experience you a little bit more. So I'm going to encourage everybody to go to www.awakeningtoabundance.com/method, and that's METHOD. Maury, can you let us know, what exactly or how exactly they could experience more of who you are, your voice, and your gift? What exactly are they going to find out?
All people have to do is, go to that website that you sent them to, and there's a Contact Us button there. If anybody wants any additional help or services or anything like that, they're always welcome just to ask me. You're going to get me personally. I'm available. The thing that I do is I love helping people to help themselves. I've never gotten over the power and the wonderful feelings that I feel when I was able to help myself get out of the darkness that I was in for all those years. And I believe that I was in that darkness so I could develop what I have developed so that others don't have to suffer like I did. And that was the purpose. So when you get down to it, I'm actually really grateful that I went through that hell. I'm grateful that I don't have it anymore, too, by the way.
And so the benefits, you've already kind of described with us some of the benefits. Any other benefits that people will get from taking a look at this quantum package you have?
They'll actually find a quantum mind power package. We offer a full guarantee. So if you use it properly, and that means regularly every day for at least a month or two, you should notice incredible changes in your perceptions. Really, reality and how we live our lives are all about perception. If you perceive someone as good, you tend to react better to them than if you perceive them to be bad. So if you perceive your situation to be an opportunity, that's a lot better than perceiving it to be something bad. I was constantly being fired from jobs, and I perceived that as bad. I used to whine and complain all the time about how lousy people were. They used me, they abused me, they took advantage of me. I'm not getting anywhere in life. I'm getting older and older, but I'm not getting anywhere. All these things. Now I'm actually grateful to every single one who didn't give me a raise, who promised me a promotion and never gave it to me, because I was too short-sighted to see that I was being led in a direction. I wasn't listening to what the universe was telling me. It was saying, Maury, you're supposed to do something else. And that's why I couldn't succeed at these jobs. So I'd like to challenge anyone out there who's currently in a situation where they seem like they're hitting their head against the wall all the time. My challenge is this. Look at things from a different angle. Maybe you're hitting your head against the wall all the time because the universe, or God, or however you want to call it, loves you and doesn't want you to continue to suffer and be unfulfilled your whole life. Maybe you're hitting your head against the wall because it's trying to tell you, stop doing this. Do something else. Listen to your passion.
I love it. Maury, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate what you've been through and your courage to turn around and make that experience something positive for everyone else who's listening today. Folks, go to www.awakeningtoabundance.com/method. That's METHOD. We've run out of time, so thank you so much for sharing with us today, Maury. I really appreciate you, everything you are, everything you've done, and all of the wonderful things that people can experience by getting to know you. And I look forward to our next call together.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you very